Wander versus Celosia. Iron-headed bull. Celosia might be considered the tank if he were ever put into an adventurers group. Seriously, this guy has got some goddamn high defensive capabilities. His armor is impenetrable and attacks just glance off his armor without leaving a scratch on the stubborn jackass. Also, calling this beast a Colossus might be a bit off. Like lava is just a bit too hot for people to hold. This Colossus is the size of Wander, and he uses that reduced size to allow for easier ability to attack and defend, allowing Celosia to wreck up your shit with actual stun-locking repeated headbutts. Another problem with this boss fight is the battle script. First off, it's broken off into long sections that are all over the place, leading to a long-ass boss fight, and the tells from the game are about as clear as trying to read an eye chart in Seattle from Boise. If you can figure this fight without external help, then I'll call you a genius or one lucky bastard, because this thing is about as obtuse as a 359-degree angle. I know it sounds snippy, but some of it's true, like the first part. You are required to get Celosia to a small arena-type thing surrounded by statues with torches, and then after dodging or getting bull-stamped in the nuts, the light spirits will eventually tell you that Celosia is afraid of fire. Then you have to spend another 15 minutes trying to think of what you can do with a flaming stick that causes Celosia to whimper and back away from you. I tried pushing him into the trench where he first came from, but that didn't do anything. I looked around for a while until I saw that the wall on the other side of the room was just an unsupported cliff edge, so I ended up pushing him for a long-ass time to the other side of the room just to frickin' throw him off the edge. Seriously, why couldn't that have happened in the trench? So that part was incredibly annoying, but afterwards, Celosia falls onto its back and reveals its weak point because the armor on its back breaks. But don't think it's just gonna get easy because you can see the weak point now, because this is the hardest part of the fight. You have to jump onto Celosia's back, and remember, this is a bull-sized monster constantly running around and trying to kill you with charge attacks in order to launch onto its back hair and get the stabs in. There's two glaring and major problems with this stage in the fight. One, Celosia's weak spot is incredibly small and almost the size of Wander himself, and since this is the case, you can't even charge up an attack that'll hit the sigil unless you're in a very specific position on Celosia, and the second one is the more obvious problem. Bull riding is not a tranquil activity. Celosia will try mercilessly and constantly to throw you from its back like a supersonic tetherball, and since you are in a bigger location, there's lots more room for it to work with, running all over the place and bashing you into walls. And the worst part is, when Celosia starts diving for the trench again, Celosia will take off down the stone hallway in order to get into the trench, wasting 15 vital seconds of your grip gauge. And now that you are in the trench, this is the easiest place for Celosia to stunlock you, because when you're headbutted by Celosia in this trench, the getting up animation is required to be used, and also slow enough that by the time you get up, Celosia's already charged again and knocked you on your ass for the second or third or 50th time. It is lucky that this move isn't painful, or else this fight would be difficult on top of being a giant thorn in the side. The addition is that all this time that you're being flailed around by Celosia, you're constantly running out of your grip gauge, so you fall off a lot. And the requirements for getting back on Celosia are ridiculous, since you're now on the same level as Celosia. So your only real choice is to break for the trench to get to higher ground, but by then Celosia would have already run over your fat ass and beat you to the punch. There's no real good way to review Celosia without any detachment from my slagging self, because this is the boss fight that made me take a break in order to beat it, because incredible rage does not meld with logic, and you need all the logic possible to take on this bull. But it didn't feel like fighting a bull, it felt like fighting a fucking train. I remember spending about a half hour trying to actually stab the damn thing because of all the times I fell off, couldn't get into the exact right position to charge up an attack, and kept getting stun locked in the frickin' trench. With that said, let's head to the scores. Gameplay. Really? Do I need to qualify my score for this one? Okay, fine. Celosia's incredibly obtuse battle script, along with some amazingly daunting hurdles to sigil stabbing, meant that actually dealing damage was like pulling off your own toenails to throw at the enemy. You will spend most of your time in this boss fight repositioning yourself on Celosia's back because you can only do a useful charge attack in an incredibly specific position due to the bad design of Celosia's back hair. The cop-out argument is that it still technically works, in the sense that it isn't bugged to death, so I'm conceding a full 2/3 Triforces for Celosia's gameplay. Story. Celosia kind of has the problem that Barba had in this case, being nothing more than just another rank filler. But there's more to it this time around. Celosia, for example, is just slightly more interesting than Barba for being created in the image of a bull. But beyond that, you really can't read into Celosia for any additional information. Sure, it has pyrophobia, but that's its only real characteristic beyond the outside appearance. I'll give Celosia 3 Triforces for story. Fun. With the statement being made that fighting this boss involved the feeling of pulling off your own toenails, Celosia was more or less an annoying time sink and broken mess, mostly design-wise. I didn't even have the closest relation to fun in this case. The only enjoyment I could glean from something like this is just killing it, but due to the lack of story, there's no cathartic potential and no intense life or death scenario a la Dirge to give achievement in that case. Celosia earns a measly 1/3 Triforces for fun, because unless you're psychotic, this boss will never be fun to beat. I pretty much saw this one coming from the beginning. But Celosia leaves the arena with an incredibly disappointing 4 Triforces as a final score. It's not a Colossus, it's not fun, and it can't get near any sort of flame. A painfully annoying time sink of an enemy, Celosia has held a great spot in my mind ever since I beat it, and that was the place I put the instance I skidded the skin off my leg, or the times I got electrocuted, or the initial fight I had with General Ram, for being memorable in just how awful it was as an entire experience. Okay, I'm done with my shit throwing for now. Man, I didn't even get the fun of ripping into it like I did Bosscinerator. But like always, I'll leave you with a victory for gamers. I'll see you next time.